Hello and welcome to your 5th installment of COVIDucation. My name is A.E. Stueve and I'll be your teacher. Now I know it's a little bit sad that you're not seeing my face this time around, and I'm very sorry about that, but since I'm going to be focusing exclusively on design today, I figured I would have design on the screen the whole time. Today, we're going to talk about one aspect of one element of design. If you're looking at the screen right now, you can see CRAP, which stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, layout, and typography. Today, we're only going to be talking about contrast, which is what the C in CRAP stands for. Making elements slightly different confuses people into seeing a relation that does not exist. In other words, with contrast, go big or go home. Contrast is usually considered the most important visual element of the design. It can show the difference between words and meanings and break up uniformity. Elements that are not the same should be very different so they stand out. As you can see on this design, we have our school colors, and we have white, and we have different size of fonts, and we have a few different shapes. Contrast. But to get more specific, contrast can involve size, negative space, color, shape, typography, size, style, and location, layout and composition, and texture. All of these things should be considered when thinking about contrast. Today, we will go over 5 different designs that use contrast amazingly well. First, one from the iPod campaign Apple produced years ago. Second, we have a book cover to Dune, one of the greatest literary works ever. Third, a movie poster for Jaws. Fourth, a Nike ad. And finally, a poster for a production of the musical Wicked. Let's look at each one of these things individually, shall we? First, we have this old iPod ad. And what do we have contrasted here? In this design by freelance art director Susan Allensingen, there is great contrast in color, green, black, white. But also, more subtly, we have texture. The soft roundness of the silhouetted human body is directly contrasted with the hard edges of the rectangle surrounding her. Additionally, the thin cord coming from the earbuds to the iPod contrasts the thickness of not only the background, but the silhouette as well. Furthermore, the copy stands out because it is white, or rather, a lack of color surrounded by large swaths of green and black. This also, of course, matches the iPod, thereby bringing our eyes directly to it. One must also consider the use of negative space in this ad because, technically, the green is the negative space. Imagine this image all in white behind the silhouette though. It's terrible. Next, let's look at this cover to the book Dune by Frank Herbert. What's contrasted here? So much. Cover is by Jim Turney. We see amazing contrast in color. Black, yellow, blue, orange, and white are all represented here, and all of them are symbolic of something different. This is important in design because the imagery must lead to understanding. Again, we also have texture in the soft dunes and the hard letters. Notice the typography as well. Size, style, and location are all considered here. The book title is in a unique, almost decorative font and is made up of blue and white, while the author is in sterile, emotionless font, all in black. It's just there to do a job. It's probably related to Helvetica somehow. Also, size plays an important role when considering these fonts. First and foremost, the title is huge, covering nearly the entire page, while the author is smaller and relegated to the bottom of the page. A very important aspect to contrast in this design, though, is the layout composition, because the artist did something that is normally frowned upon. He centered it. But by writing in a way we're not accustomed to, downwards, and throwing in the caped Paul Atreides walking through it, the artist has created an appealing layout. What do we have contrasted in the Jaws movie poster? Mostly, in this painting by Roger Castle, it is color that is contrasted well. The red of the movie title stands out most predominantly on the white, and those two colors contrasted with the blues and blacks of C show us the great divide between the two. But also, there's the blackness of the mouth surrounded by the sharp white teeth. The only other place in the art where we see black that intense is in the shark's eyes. This is important because its mouth and eyes are the scariest parts of the shark. Next, we have the classic Nike swoosh, designed by Carolyn Davidson. Maybe one of the most iconic designs in modern times. We all know what it symbolizes, right? Nike. And the contrast works really well because of the colors. But dig a little deeper and you'll see that it isn't just color. There's also a sharp contrast in shape. The rounded curves of the swoosh are contrasted by the hard black edges of the rectangle it rests in. Also, there are the curves in the swoosh partnered with the straight lines. This, of course, is texture. Finally, negative space is at play here as well. We're looking at the swoosh. Nothing else matters. All the darkness around it helps lead us to it. Great use of negative space. Finally, we have a promotional poster for the musical Wicked, designed by Cyrano Coin Incorporated. It is a masterful use of contrast in color. White contrasts with black well, so does peach and green and red, which contrast each other well. All of these simultaneously catch your eye, thereby subliminally telling you of the significant differences between these two witches. But yes, once again, there is more. As for typography, look at the title. We have 2 different sizes, 2 different fonts, and 2 different colors. There's a great element of texture created when placing the witch on a broom cut out right over the eye in Wicked as well. Most powerfully though, along with the Apple and Nike designs, is the use of negative space. The designers use it to convey something, a significant difference between the 2 main characters. So what have we learned today? I know you're never supposed to say this as a teacher. I put quotation marks around that, by the way. But what we should have learned is that contrast as a design theory is actually pretty easy. It works best when it is being utilized to its fullest. We saw a lot of bright colors contrasted with dark colors. We saw a lot of different sized fonts working together to create a message. We saw how negative space can be utilized to emphasize not only whatever image the designer wants people to notice, but themes in the design as well. We should have also noticed that good contrast doesn't have a formula the way good math does. It works when the designer puts in the time to make it work. When the designer thinks of size, shape, color, negative space, typography, layout and composition, and texture to help them convey their message. And that is it for today, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed your 5th installment of COVIDucation. I will be back next week, and I don't know, maybe we'll do a little design, maybe we'll do a little writing. It all depends on my mood. Have a good week.